If the Earth wouldn't have an atmosphere, would its oceans still be blue from space? Yes, water is blue, slightly. The oceans are not blue because of the atmosphere. Water is intrinsically blue like the other posters have stated. Since it is clear, you just need a lot of water to see the blue effect. So the oceans look blue despite the atmosphere. If we take your question extra literally, the lack of atmosphere would cause the oceans to evaporate from a lack of pressure. That's why Mars lost its oceans. The oceans wouldn't be there. No atmosphere, vacuum of space. Vacuum of space, oceans would have boiled off. I think it's safe to say that any Earth-sized planet in the Goldilocks zone would have an atmosphere. Inevitably, as soon as Earth cooled off enough, it rained. It rained for millions of years. If the Earth wouldn't have an atmosphere, would its oceans still be blue from space? No atmosphere? Well, if we're suspending the laws of physics, sure they can be blue, or a nice salmony peach if you prefer. In reality, the oceans would boil and re-establish an atmosphere and you'd be back to square one. If Earth didn't have an atmosphere, it didn't have an ocean, as water in liquid state didn't exist at zero atmosphere. It's the atmosphere pressure that allows water to exist in liquid state, besides temperature of course. The oceans would appear more white, as they would boil to vapor in a vacuum. The colorless fog would cover most of the world, due to it rising from expansion, and then eventually bleed off into space, though I suspect this would take a while. If the atmosphere is gone, then the Earth's magnetic fields are gone. The magnetic fields protect the Earth from solar radiation. No magnetic field to shield Earth means the oceans would evaporate away like Mars. Probably not, because there wouldn't be water, all would be evaporated by direct contact from Athensian radiation. The atmosphere, with the ozone, protects us from that. That said, if, hypothetically, the ozone would protect us from the sun 100, yes, the water would still be blue, because it's the color reflected by the sun's light that rebounds on it. What is it? Water doesn't absorb blue wavelengths well. Or does it absorb them very well? I can't remember. But it's a property of water itself with regards to the wavelength of blue that makes it so. Which is actually why the atmosphere appears blue, because of all the water in it. If you took water out of the atmosphere, it likely wouldn't be blue anymore. If our Earth were stripped of its atmosphere, the oceans would not appear blue from space. You see, the blue hue of Earth's oceans is largely due to the scattering of sunlight by the atmosphere. Without an atmosphere, there would be no blue light scattered towards the eyes of a beholder in space. The oceans might instead appear a dark, inky black, as they would only reflect the scant light from the sun directly without an atmosphere to diffuse and scatter it. Kind of, but not really. While blue light scattering contributes to the color, and the atmosphere changes how blue light is scattered, other factors such as dissolved elements, impurities and selective absorption play a huge role too. So yeah, the water would still be blue, just different. The blue is not due to water, it's because our atmosphere absorbs all wavelengths of light other than blue, which is the only one scattered. In the evenings, the water looks orange because the angle of sunlight increases diffusion and scatters red, yellow and orange wavelengths instead. Also, without an atmosphere, water would be in its vapor form on Earth as the low pressure would cause it to evaporate. So technically, there would still be a water vapor atmosphere. If the Earth didn't have an atmosphere, the oceans would never have formed. Water requires atmospheric pressure to maintain a liquid form. But hypothetically speaking, yes. Water has a slight blue tint to it naturally when in liquid form. The intrinsic blue color of water, due to its absorption of red light, would still be present. However, the vividness of this color would be affected. Without the atmospheric scattering that enhances the blue hue of the water when we look at the ocean, its color might appear darker and more muted.